Well, and that is the backbone of our conversation tonight. We want to look at the contribution of ICT to Kenya's economic transformation. I have two distinguished gentlemen who are in this studio who are going to help us and guide us in this critical conversation. And one of them is a familiar face on on this screen. And of course, he's a major driver of ICT industry here in Kenya. I'm talking about Engineer John Tanui. He's the Principal Secretary in the State Department for ICT and Digital Economy. He's on my immediate left. Thank you very much indeed, Engineer PS, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, O'Brien. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. And next to the PS, we have Professor Prof.Yotto Ochieng. He's an independent council member at Kenya Advanced Institute of Science, better known as KAIST. Did I get it right?
You did. Thank you very much, Brian. I'm delighted to be here.
Very good. I want to start with the PS. When you look at the space of ICT in Kenya's economic transformation, where is it positioned?
ICT is quite critical and at the center of our country's economic transformation. ICT has played a big role through the connectivity to the rest of the world, connectivity to our counties, down now to what we are having under part of the digital superhighway, and also the digitization that is taking place in government, what we've done in the e-citizen, what we are doing in healthcare to use technology to achieve digital transformation, to see also the new emerging areas that Kenya has started assembly of devices. We have now 7 million capacity of smartphone assembly in Kenya, which was not there before. We are able to manufacture fiber for connectivity from the country. And we are seeing setup of data centers in the country now with over 19 data centers already in the country. So the digital and ICT infrastructure is playing a very critical role indeed.
When you look at the kind of investment that the government is putting into this industry, is it paying off?
Yes, it does. When you see the investment that has been over the years, it has put Kenya in the front. And that is why we caught the tag, the Silicon Savannah, to represent our innovation ecosystem. If you check also the contribution of our mobile money sector, the impact on our SMEs, the ease of transactions, the facilitation to Mama Mboka through ease of payment of transaction, that is the power of technology. And relying on the huge investment the government and the private sector has already played. When you check e-citizen platform, which currently has over 16 million people on that platform, every day over 500,000 people logging in, and means these people would have walked to an office. Now they do not need to travel to any office. Again, all the transactions and payments are visible on digital platform. This removes loopholes, removes avenues for corruption, and ensures that there is transparency and also better quality of service to our citizens. So there is huge value in these investments.
I know your ministry has been a key driver of digitization and digitalization within the public service. I'll be coming back to you to find out how far are we in this endeavor and how is it contributing to proper public service. I just want to turn on to Professor. You come from one of the most critical, what I would call a critical institution in Kenya's ICT agenda as well as technology, and this is KAIST. I was there last year and I saw now the facility is waiting, now commissioning. Where are we in operationalizing KAIST in Kenya?
Thank you very much, O'Brien. If you don't mind, let me just backtrack a little bit, just to contextualize for our viewers. So there are a number of key pillars in the journey of a country to transformation. And the first one is what I call critical national infrastructure. And for example, water, energy, communications, and so on. These are the basic things that a country needs to function. And then the second thing is talent, that's people. And if you have the resources and governance, then things actually work. So the role of digital infrastructure, and you mentioned ICT, is pivotal. It is simply the backbone of a modern, global, interconnected economy, of which Kenya is a key player. And I think for the first time, at least in my lifetime, the government has linked very tightly its destiny in terms of uplifting the quality and the standards of living of people, of its citizens, to its vision, 2030, and of course there's the beta, particularly creative economy of the digital superhighway. These are all linked to the Kenya Advanced Institute for Science and Technology, Kenya KAIST, as we call it. And so I'm delighted actually to be a part and parcel of it. The facilities, the laboratories, the classrooms, effectively done. So we're now moving to the next step, which is to bring the next layer, which is the talent, the people. And we should be moving pretty short and swiftly, actually. And one of the reasons I was here was basically to, together with my council colleagues and the Secretariat, to go to Konza to look at the stage at which we are. And I'm delighted to report to our Kenyans that their brand new university, world-class university by any standards. By the way, when I say this, I'm speaking from a position of authority, because I come from the world's second best university, which is Imperial College London. So I have a good reference with which to compare. And I think...
And I can back you up, because I have seen it.
You've seen it. And therefore, I think the government is to be congratulated in terms of its effort to really move this country forward. And just to, a final point to finish on is that I am in town. I'm based in London. I've been living in London for the last 36 years.
Whoa.
And obviously doing a lot back home. And I'm running something called the Green Skills Symposium as the chairman of the Royal Academy of Engineering's Africa, or Engineers Program, or the Steering Committee of African Engineers, together with the United Nations Environmental Program, the Royal Society, and so on. And where are we running it? You've got 25 countries represented in Nairobi, in Kenya. Why? Because partly the digital infrastructure, ICT, is world leading as far as I'm concerned.
Here in Kenya.
Here in Kenya. So I think the summary really is that Kenya KAIST, and we call it Kenya KAIST as opposed to KAIST because of the KAIST in South Korea.
In South Korea.
Yeah, it's actually, let me just summarize by saying it's simply world leading by any comparison across the globe. So everyone involved, including my colleagues, the council members, are to be congratulated, but most importantly, the government and the leadership of our engineer PS, Tanui, who has been at the forefront of working with us to get it to where we are and beyond.
Very good. And the beauty about Tanui is that you know, he comes with tremendous experience because he has been involved in Kenya's ICT space for many years. He was the CEO of the Konza Technopolis when the dream and the idea of starting the Kenya KAIST was started, and so he's very critical in this conversation. And the beauty of this is that you know, we have policymakers and academia, you know, on the same platform. And I want to find out from you, is there any empirical evidence from an academic point of view that there is a correlation between ICT development and socio-economic development?
Very, very much so. And that's why I said it's simply the backbone of a modern economy. You know why? Because we talk about advancements, let alone the networks, let alone the servers, cloud services, and so on. But we're actually now going into low Earth orbits. Yeah? We have non-terrestrial networks. And so we are living in an increasingly interconnected world, and that means supply chains. Yeah? So if you want to be a player, you really have to be connected. And so the beauty of all of this is that the Kenyan government is putting that particular backbone, right, in its development agenda, and evidentially so, you can actually see in the kind of you know, reception that Kenya is receiving, and also the way that the world is actually connecting to Kenya. One of my close colleagues is called Philip Thigo, who is, I think, the Kenya government's tech
special advisor on ICT.
And you know, recently there's the AI hub, and there are so many activities that are taking place in this country. And I think Wananchi should realize that there's a very good reason for that, because the country is increasingly becoming a hub, not just for ICT, but everything else associated with those critical infrastructure sectors that I spoke about. So I think the country is on its way to Singapore.
To Singapore.
Yes.
I want to hear this. I mean, we've been talking about Singapore. The president has been talking about Singapore. Singapore is one of the most technologically driven economy in the world. I think it ranks number 4 in the world. Kenya's aspiration are to become like Singapore. Bwana PS, what are we doing to get to that position here in Africa?
One, we have a very clear plan. If you check the plan that brought this government into office, the plan, it has a very clear strategy on economic transformation and focusing on the 5 areas. And indeed, results can be seen. When you look at the agriculture, we have moved towards being food sufficient as a country. There are sectors that we were highly dependent on imports. Today, we can say with planning and also focus subsidy provision using technology, we've been able to enhance our food production. I'm told even this year, food production, especially maize, outweighs or higher than all the other years. That was a planned action. There was commitment to create jobs, and affordable housing was one such initiative. Today, this is one of the biggest development projects across the country. And if you look similar initiatives, there is an institution in South Korea called Land and Housing, LNH. It started similarly, just building houses like what we are seeing today. Today, it's such a big contributor to South Korea's economy, and housing creates huge jobs, impacts the industrial aspect in terms of products that are manufactured for use for housing. So we are on a journey that is really leading us to our first world. We also look at unlocking opportunities in the digital space. We've gone out of our way to address any limitations in policy, regulation, to attract investment. We add limiting regulations like limitation on local ownership, which was removed so that we can attract global investment. We've seen companies like Amazon Web Services settle in Kenya. Last few weeks, we've seen also companies like Oracle set up their regional data center, one of the 3 data centers of that level in the continent. We've seen business processing outsourcing centers come to the country, including the world's #1. So we can see new things which were not there before. I mentioned that the manufacture of devices, which before was not there. This is an electronic industry. It is starting simple, in a simple way, but electronic industry as what has shaped South Korea or the Asian tigers. And we hope this sector will one day contribute significantly in terms of a percentage to our GDP. And now
how much is
about
it contributing now? The last figures I checked was about 9%.
And when you look at the plan, we've been discussing with many stakeholders, and we're looking at how do we move the sector from about $7 billion to about $100 billion probably within 10 years. It is possible, and the foundational things are actually what we are addressing, whether it is data centers to make sure we unlock that potential, attract investment, make sure the country is connected globally, submarine cables, allowing the private sector to have ease of entry to this country so that they can invest. And talking about Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, which Professor Yotto is one of the board members. And I must say I was impressed when I visited the Royal Imperial College in UK. It's one of the best global universities in the world. And looking at the foundation we have laid at Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, indeed, this is going to be one of the vehicles that will accelerate our economic development as a country towards a first world. Because being a first world, we need to move towards what we call knowledge economy. And it means now we need to build talent. We need to build capabilities for intellectual property rights that can be commercialized within the country. We need to see the rise of startups. We need to see the contribution of technology. And we are very happy with what the private sector is doing, what our global partners are doing with us. We are seeing establishment of innovation centers. Recently, we have the setup of Timbuktu Green Tech at concert with UNDP. We have others in Mombasa, Vestavele House, with the support of the German government. So we are creating the foundations which will be actually the drivers to drive our country towards a first world.
Very well. I mean, you're watching this conversation live from Broadcasting House. We're taking a short break. We're in the company of Engineer John Tanui, the PS in the State Department for ICT and Digital Economy, as well as Professor Washington Ochieng, who is a council member at Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. We are back in a while. Welcome back. You're watching the Prime Edition. We're looking at the contribution of technology and ICT to Kenya's economic transformation. I told you in the company of PS Engineer John Tanui, the PS in charge of State Department for ICT and Digital Economy, as well as Professor Washington Ochieng, who is a council member of Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. I mean, before we went for the break, I just wanted to find out, you see, when you look at mobile money, Kenya is a global leader, with about 99, almost 100% of Kenyans, they have one form of mobile money or the other. And the government has been very deliberate in going cashless. The private sector has not been very keen. How do we incentivize the private sector also to move to the cashless platform?
I think there is quite a lot of efforts to ensure we build a more cashless economy. One, it creates ease of transparency and even ease of transaction. And the government has made the first step to ensure all transaction with its citizens can be done cashless without having to carry any cash. And that is the first incentive. So if you want to pay for any of the services from government, you do not need to carry any cash. So that is the first incentive. Secondly, our banking sector is actually matured and it's growing. Now we have banking applications that you can actually transact with your app, with your phone, without having to carry any cash. We have also really a big network with the mobile network, mobile money infrastructure, which enables citizens to easily translate the cash to digital or digital to cash. That also makes it easy for that. And also now we are looking at how to grow what we call digital market. We are planning to have Connected Africa Summit, the 15th edition, 27th to 30th of this month. And the theme will be actually the digital market. So we are looking at how to grow the e-commerce sector. And the e-commerce driving is largely will be driven by digital payments. And we are very happy with what also our central bank has done. It has been very forward-looking in terms of its regulation, legislation. And we have a large number of PSPs now registered with various options. And recently also we're working on crypto, so that we can bring also digital assets. So the country is laying the necessary foundation to make our country move forward. And you will be seeing even new emerging platforms that will probably lower more cost and even make it more convenient for our SMEs to transact cashless.
Very well. Prof, I want to hear this from you. I mean, you come from a very highly industrialized and advanced economy in the name of a United Kingdom. And when you look at Kenya, which is aspiring to become a developed economy in the not-so-distant future, and when you look at the way our economy is architectured, do you see us putting efforts where it ought to be towards driving Kenya into that highly advanced economy?
Yes, thank you very much, O'Brien. Let me be a little bit philosophical with it, which is that there is a concept that I refer to as the whole of society systems approach. What that actually means is that the problem we're dealing with is fairly complex. And so understanding of the big picture is quite important. Architecturizing that before you then start working within it. What that actually means is that if you then start doing little things, at least you can bolt them back into the wider architecture. And I think from what I can see, the government is doing the right things in that respect, in terms of coming up with the vision, right, and implementing that in what I refer to as a functional architecture. And that then means that if you then go and work on the digitization of infrastructure, including the economy, it finds its place in the wider ecosystem, which is a multi-stakeholder thing. And it's very refreshing when you're in Kenya to hear about participatory approaches to inclusive development, which means that no one is left behind. So I would say that I think the country is on a good road in that respect. And also to say that when it comes to digital, anything digital, we talk about it always as if it's all positive.
Yeah.
We must be cognizant of the fact that there are serious threats when it comes to things like advanced analytics, like artificial intelligence. But we also must talk about security and resilience, particularly cyber security. You are talking about how you incentivize banks, you incentivize people to go digital, even in terms of currency. If I'm not convinced of the cyber security, for example, of that digital infrastructure, then clearly I would not be using it. So I think it's also very important for us to articulate the threats, right? Not just the good points, and then to be able to say what we are doing about them. That's very important. And that's the kind of thing that is done in industrialized countries to get a buy-in within that wider ecosystem. Let me just emphasize that the threats that we face as the world, there are 5, in my view, 5 threats, and maybe your viewers can give me feedback as to what they think about Washington's vectors. I worry about environmental threats. So the Green Skills Symposium is actually addressing that dimension. I worry about natural biological threats. I mean, not too long ago we had the pandemic. We have almost forgotten what happened with COVID.
About 5 years ago.
Exactly. And then you have physical threats. We are used to this, bombs and things. And then we have a social threat. That's where, O'Brien, you and me come in. We are people, the social dimension.
Yeah. And
but then
you have things like cybercrime and all that.
Correct. And then you have this whole thing about cyber, right? So how much are we actually looking at our digital infrastructure from the perspective of cyber threats? And so what I'm saying is that we need to espouse something that takes all of those 5 vectors together. I call it societal resilience.
Societal resilience.
Yeah.
And
so we need to be talking more about these kinds of things. And I believe, obviously being on the inside with respect to Kenya KAIST and so on, and the fact that you have the Technopolis, you have the university, there will be companies, startups, there will also be other components in there. And that particular region, the Silicon Savannah, then becomes the hotbed, if you like, for transporting us going forward.
I like the fact that you have raised, critical issues, even as we continue in our technological advancement, as well as, adoption of more technology into our economic transformation. And we have seen the impact of what criminals can do with technology to harm and to ruin societies. And I want to hear this from the peers, from a policy perspective. What is the government doing to firewall all the technology that we are deploying in the Kenyan space?
So it's true, we have undertaken huge digitalization programs. We mentioned eCitizen, the transformation in the health sector. We have over 29 million people registered on the digital health platform. And this platform is enabling all kind of transaction and engagement in the healthcare. This is a powerful tool. We have also enhanced the connectivity across the country. We have opened up Wi-Fis, and we are unlocking even more opportunities for young people to connect to this digital space. So indeed, there are many points of attack that cannot occur. So it's good that we talk about also the risk and the potential. And the first one is awareness training. So to ensure that all the users of the digital infrastructure are aware of the risks that exist in the digital space. And most of the biggest risk is actually the user themselves. If they are not aware of the do's and the don'ts and how to protect yourself, the way you do in the physical space. In physical space, we know how to cross the street, we know how to do whatever you need to do. In the digital space, it's the same. What kind of password are you using on your credentials? How are you logging into the systems? Do you have a limited period that you must change your passwords? Those are the simple things. Secondly, we must have a strong team that are cybersecurity experts. So we must train experts who will now ensure that when we design a digital infrastructure, we inbuild resilience, cybersecurity capabilities to secure security from design. So that team also needs to respond in case of actual attack. And when you are able to do that, then you have built the fast approach. What we are doing is also putting the right policies in place to ensure that we have cybersecurity policies for the country. We have at the cabinet recently approved the establishment of a dedicated agency which will ensure that its focus is only cybersecurity. Yeah. We already have other agencies regarding regulation in the telecommunication sector, that's Communications Authority. We have an agency responsible for data protection, personal data protection, that is the office that ensures our personal data is protected, and it's also good lays the foundation for security. So this new agency will actually help us to be dedicated and focus on securing our country. The other positive thing is that this is an emerging space. And when you check online and find how many job opportunities are there for cybersecurity, you find there are 3.5 million and above. So it's also opportunity that there are careers that are required to ensure that we require people to secure. So we want also to develop capabilities there, and that's why we have KAIST. We have other universities that are actually training cybersecurity experts, and they are working here in the country, and others even able to get opportunities across the world.
Very well. Yeah. Prof, I want to hear this from you because we're almost coming to the close of this conversation. When you look at the deployment of technology, the advancement in ICT infrastructure in Kenya, where do you see us going by the time we get to the year 2030?
I think we'll be a long way down the developmental route. Remember, we are building an enabler. And so we must look at it also from a socio-economic impact perspective. And that takes me back to my whole of society ecosystem. So technologically speaking, I think I expect to see much more self-sufficiency thanks to institutions like KAIST. So that is very important because we don't want to be always importing labor. So being self-sufficient is one of the key ingredients of a country's development agenda. And I think I'd just like to say that in my considered opinion, over the years, I think this very close linkage between a country's vision and its institutions, such as KAIST, to me is a game changer. Yeah. And so my plea is that we make this work. We make KAIST work. We make the Technopolis work. We make that Silicon Savannah work. And in 2030, I'm not so sure about Singapore. I think we will be overtaking Singapore by then.
Which is 4 years from now.
This is what I'm thinking, right? Given the foundation that has actually been set.
Very well.
And remember, I'm saying this from the outside in a developed world looking inside.
Very good.
Thank you.
Buona P.S. As we wind up, where do you see this technology-driven economic transformation taking us in the next 4 years?
I think we are laying a very solid foundation for economic transformation of our country. We are building a digital government. We are creating a digital society. Earlier on, you saw our cabinet secretary launching a digital hub in central Kenya. And this is what we are doing across the country, unlocking opportunities for our young people, ensuring there are spaces that our people can access for skilling themselves, opportunities for them to find jobs online, also opportunities to embark on entrepreneurship, that they can open new digital jobs. We are also addressing the necessary policies that we can attract more investment in our country. We want to be a data hub, that we can attract more data centers into our country so that we can create more quality jobs for our engineers, ICT professionals. We also want to see manufacturing. We want to see the electronic industry rise in Kenya.
Well.
I saw today some team visiting the Tanui University. They are working on semiconductors. This is a global key area that people are discussing, and Kenya is in the center of it. So you can expect that in the next 4 years, Kenya will have made quite good strides towards a fast one.
Very good. Distinguished gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight and for helping us understand where we are in terms of driving economic transformation through technology here in Kenya. This is phase one. We need to have the second round. Probably, maybe we need a town hall and we go to KAIST.
Probably, yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed for your time.